What's up, movie fans, and welcome to a brand new episode. My name's Pat Carrick.
And I'm David Mayer.
And this is a show where we have no choice but to drive 100 miles to the closest cinema to watch the latest movie so we can help you decide whether it's worth the drive.
Okay, so on this episode we are going to see Murder on the Orient Express. It is directed by and stars Kenneth Branagh along with Judi Dench, Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley and a host of other fantastic A-list celebrity names. Basically, it's the story of Hercule Poirot's race to uncover the truth behind a murder on the famous Orient Express luxury train.
Well, it's a very ominous rainy day, so I'm feeling
Dark and mysterious.
a little bit.
So am I right in thinking you've never seen, read, heard Murder on the Orient Express?
This is true. I've seen the trailer, but I haven't seen any of the reactions to the film. I don't know any of the history to it, but you're the polar opposite of that, correct?
Yes, I grew up with a lot of Agatha Christie, well, particularly a lot of Poirot, a lot of Sherlock Holmes, that kind of stuff.
You've already got a few minor critiques.
Well, I think it's actually been a bit of an internet controversy, particularly
Ooh, I like those.
Kenneth Branagh's mustache.
Yeah. You think the stash is too...
I think it's too bushy.
It's got too much body.
For Poirot fans, you'll kind of know where I'm coming from. The mustache Kenneth Branagh sports in this movie is not the one that I would associate with Poirot.
Okay, we'll try not to get bogged down on it.
What I'm really looking forward to here is a very, not necessarily novel accurate, but time specific. You know, I want period. I think I'm going to get that with Kenneth Branagh. Are you a mystery fan?
I do like a good mystery. I like when it's unraveled very well. What I'm very excited for this particular film is the cast specifically. There's so many awesome names in this. Josh Gad. I'm a big fan. I actually saw him in a play in New York City for the Book of Mormon, which is the South Park guys doing a comedy on the Church of Mormon. And he did a fantastic job in that. He can sing, he can dance, he can do all sorts of things. Daisy Ridley. I'm very excited to see my girl Daisy. she exploded onto the scene in Star Wars The Force Awakens. She's going to be in The Last Jedi. I'm excited to see her in a new, in a different type of role.
And then Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
How do you feel about Johnny Depp personally?
Well, my little insight into this film, because we have seen the trailer, Johnny Depp's in it, but he's only in it briefly, so I feel like he might be the victim and may only see out the film in the first section of it. But let's see.
I got to tell you, if that is the case, it doesn't worry me at all. I've kind of cooled to Johnny Depp over recent years.
Who I do want to talk about, who's a little bit in there, is William Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe.
In the trailer, he does this cool little thing where he's just like, "And who are you?" Like, I don't know why I like that so much. It's like, ugh.
It's just Willem Dafoe being. I really like him. I mean, I think the cast speaks for itself, and I think the director Kenneth Branagh, perfect director for this kind of thing, because I mean the whole story, it takes place on a train, right? So It's a very small, almost theatre set.
Now I'm excited for that too. Let the actors shine, let the performances and the dialogue come through. And I really hope it's successful in doing so. So Dave and I have been having a bit of a discussion in the last couple of weeks after seeing the trailer over and over and over again in the cinema, that I think it's going to be a little bit different as to who done it in the story. But you think otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, you'll realise what I'm talking about once you've actually seen the film. They can't really change the whodunit for this one. I don't think they will. I don't think it would make any sense. And it's such an old and loved story that I don't think they'll mess about with it. I hope they won't anyway.
Right. Well, what do you say we go find out?
Yes, let's. All right. Well, Murder on the Orient Express.
Off we go! Do you want to go first?
I'll go first. Okay,
Initial thoughts. I feel like I've been going first the last few times.
I mean, I think I got pretty much what I wanted.
And what was that?
I got my period mystery. I got some fantastic performances. There was a couple of little bits in there that I could nitpick at all day, but you kind of expect that from any story, you know.
Yep.
Any adaptation of it's going to leave you a few wee nitpicks. What I would say, I love that mustache now.
I love the mustache. I couldn't get over it.
It's actually two mustaches kind of layered over
I
each
know.
other.
I was trying to figure out the mechanics of that.
And it's not really Poirot's mustache in my head still, but I love it so much that I'm prepared to forgive it.
Okay, well, my initial thoughts was that I thought it was quite a good film. I thought it was beautifully directed and quite visually stunning, and I really got a sense of the feeling of being claustrophobic within the train. And as someone who has no idea about the history of the story or the film or the characters, I thought it was all done very well. The last several films that we've seen together, Dave, reviewing in our series, have all, for the most part, been quite action-packed. Explosions, punching, kicking, lots of CGI. This was very much sit back, relax, and kind of let the whole story unravel.
Cast, first of all, I don't think there was a bad performance in that group at all, really. This thing I have with accents. It's a big bugbear of mine. If you can't get someone to do the accent properly, why bother, is what I said last week, and they were all spot on.
There were some people who played with multiple accents.
And got them all back on.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit of a... it was an accent clinic. The only one who kind of let me down just slightly was Michelle Pfeiffer. Towards the end there, she had an emotional scene, and I just didn't feel it. I felt like she was hiding her lack of tears in her hands. But everyone else did a wonderful job. Shall we go through them, the ones that stood out at least to you?
Go through a couple. I mean, I thought Kenneth Branagh was great. I was prepared not really to like him as Poirot, which is, I mean, I think speaks to the performance even more than me just saying, yeah, it was a good performance. He actually changed my mind, which was really nice. Other standout for me, I think Judi Dench's small part, but she did really well.
Yeah,
and I didn't mind Johnny Depp at all.
Look, I have to mention Daisy Ridley. She's got what it takes to become a huge movie star, and it was great to see her in a film that, other than Star Wars, where she shone.
Yeah.
And there's also that trap that perhaps, say, Mark Hamill got into, where all they could be was the Star Wars character, Luke Skywalker, etc. I was worried that Daisy Ridley might become that. Judging by the performance that she gave in this film, I think she's got a good career ahead of her.
We've got to talk about the look of the movie. I thought it was pretty spot on.
It was quite spectacular. Some of the scenery, I can actually look out the windows here today and see something very similar.
Yeah.
Misty mountains full of snow and majestic settings all throughout.
There was a few slightly clunky bits of CGI in there.
A lot of the broad landscape shots where the train is passing through, I felt that the train looked not real. I would have loved to have seen...
A little bit Polar Express.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen a real Orient Express tumbling through at least one or two shots, but not to be.
Certainly inside the train, on the train, I mean, it'd be hard to fault it.
Particularly at the start, before the train took off, they did a great kind of long shot outside the train as people are walking through inside the train, just to establish the different carriages and things, just to give you an idea of where the story is unfolding at which section of the train. And I thought that those establishing shots were quite clever.
Kenneth Branagh knows what he's doing with a sort of theatre set piece. I suppose we have to talk a little bit, without trying to give anything away, about the story.
Ooh, tricky. Well, firstly, without giving anything away, from our discussion as we rolled into the cinema, was it the same ending as you know?
It was the same ending.
Right.
Yes,
well, that makes sense. And now, of course, seeing the film, it makes sense. It's a classic story, and I'm sure that's for a reason. The way things unravels was quite interesting. I didn't really pick the ending until it was ready for me to pick it, and the end result was pretty satisfying.
I think for me, regarding the way they presented the interviews with the passengers and things like that, is they didn't spoon feed you the clues. They didn't it wasn't obvious what was a clue and what wasn't. You kind of actually get to play a bit of detective without going, well, that's obviously a clue, and then either finding out that yes, it was a clue very obviously, or no, it was a massive red herring. And I think for me, having seen a couple of different dramatizations of it, I would say it's probably the best in terms of when it presented information, how it presented information.
The one thing I guess I walked out feeling was that I thought it would be just a tad more clever.
The story's based on things happening in a previous crime.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff in this one that Poirot knows from beforehand.
Right, yes.
And I think that's where this story falls down. Not necessarily this movie, because in that sense it was very faithful to the story, but I think that's where the original story falls down slightly. A lot of the stuff comes in because Poirot kind of knew it from the past.
The fact that he kind of had a pre-existing history to the case at hand made it just a little bit too simple. But that would be the one weakness for me. Should we wrap this up?
We probably should. For those of you who haven't watched one of our videos before, what we do is we drive 100 miles to go and see these films, so it gives us a nice excuse to score them out of around 100. I want to go first on this one.
Sure.
I was completely satisfied by this film. I don't think it's the best movie we've seen this summer necessarily, but all around very satisfying, very well accomplished, and I find it difficult to really pick holes in it without getting down to nitpicking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one, I think 83?
83? I felt that it was a very strong film. The direction from Kenneth Branagh was fantastic. The performances were fantastic. I just found myself not that engaged with the story as a whole. The whole mystery itself wasn't something that I would kind of drive all this way for, personally. So, that being said, I might just tuck it in underneath and maybe give it 69. Would I recommend this to be worth the drive? Not necessarily. I would say you could probably watch this one at home, get your little blanket. Now it's getting cold, maybe I just want to watch movies under a blanket. But
well, there you go. We have a split decision, our first split decision. It's a worth the drive from me and possibly not worth the drive from Pat.
Not quite.
That's our review of Murder on the Orient Express. If you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it, then please click like or comment or check out our Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Worth the Drive Movies. A lot of links to a lot of stuff on there, including all of our other videos. Join in next week for Pat in a blanket at the cinema.
Oh, and if you've seen the film yourself, we'd love to know what you thought. So please comment in the comment section and get a discussion started. We'd love to hear from you.
Cheerio from me.
Cheerio from me.
And we'll hope to see you later on down the road.